What's up, world? This is Salim with Flip for Figs, and today I'll be reviewing the Hot Toys Bane 2.0 from the Dark Knight Trilogy. Let's do it.
Flip for Figs.
When I flip, you flip, we flip.
All right, Bane 2.0. This is everything you're going to get in the box. You get the figure, which is really heavy and looks amazing. And this is actually the first time I've gotten a silicone seamless body. So it'll be fun to kind of pose that and see how that goes. You get 6 additional hands, so 2 open palm ones that are kind of like he's grabbing, Batman, or he's grabbing onto his jacket, I think, or his vest. And then you have 2 that are gripping hands, although he doesn't come with any weapons or anything for him to grip. I guess he can grip this cowl, which is another accessory that you get. It's Batman's broken mask for when he beats him up. I think it was in the sewer. And then you get a couple fists. And then on the body, he comes with just 2 standard open palms. You get this pleather style cuff that matches the other arm. I don't know if this is here so you can cover that seam, because otherwise the body is completely seamless. You get the base, which is actually really cool, and it has extendable legs here. And you can display this independently, or you can display it over the water here to make it look like it's like some grimy sewer type of situation. You get 2 extra base kind of railings here that are rusted. So there's this smaller one and this larger one here, which also attach to the base. And then you get this backdrop where the frame itself is actually like a plastic. And then I think this is it's textured. I don't know if it's plastic or if it's cardboard, but I think I read before that it's cardboard. You get the crotch grabber, and then you get 2 jackets. So you get this leather bomber jacket here, and then you get his kind of furry jacket situation here. So he's actually a pretty fashionable dude. All right, sculpt and detail wise, right out of the box, he just looks incredible. I mean, you got to give it to Tom Hardy because he conveyed so much expression despite wearing a mask, kind of like how he did in Mad Max Fury Road. He's one of my favorite actors, and this figure, even though the nose and the mouth are usually what kind of sells a figure, this just looks amazing. And granted, it's a lot easier to get a figure right when the face is obscured, but regardless, it's still such an incredible figure. It just looks amazing. And as I said earlier, this is the first figure I've ever had that's had like a fully seamless silicone body. So I'm excited and also nervous because I don't know how far you can push it. I think this is like medical grade silicone, but I know that Ashoka maybe had a similar body, and some people were having issues with Ahsoka tearing. So I don't know how far I'm willing to push it, but articulation wise, it looks like the elbow is on a ratchet joint, and you can kind of squeeze the biceps, and you can get some different poses here. As I'm doing this, I'm kind of nervous that it's going to tear, and if you've seen my other videos, you know that I typically do museum poses anyways, so nothing too crazy. Bane is one of my favorite characters. I think obviously there's a lot to love about Heath Ledger's Joker, but I actually preferred The Dark Knight Rises over The Dark Knight. Sorry if that means you're about to turn off the video, but I thought Bane was such a cool villain, and I thought, as I mentioned, I'm a big fan of Tom Hardy, and the way that he just like with brute force completely took Batman out, I really enjoyed that. But articulation wise, you can, you don't have to worry about the pants so much. The knees don't appear to be on a ratchet joint. And then it's not a split cut boot design, which I typically don't like because it means that you're a little bit more limited in what you can do with the poses. But let's see, there is torso articulation, but not much. So I wouldn't push that too far either. And yeah, I mean, look at the vein work on his back and on the arms. I mean, it just looks like I have a mini buff dude on my table, which is kind of weird. Um, but I'm digging this silicone body. I think the new Wolverine Deluxe from Deadpool is similar, and I know that there's a lot of other figures that are starting to come this way, but this is my first one. Um, no hair under his pits. I don't remember if Bane. I guess he's kind of a fancy dude, so maybe he does shave his armpits, but you can't take the vest off, so his other jackets and stuff will just go on it. But yeah, like I said, there's articulation as much as you would want to kind of get with Bane, but again, I don't know how far I'm willing to push it because I don't want to rip it, because this figure is not readily available anymore. So maybe if I had just gotten it from Sideshow brand new and there still would be an opportunity to get a replacement if I tore it, then I would be willing to. But yeah, I feel like you don't really need to do much with him to make him look as epic as he does. Got to give it up to Chris Nolan because that mask design was so unusual. It's kind of like I don't know if it's a breathing apparatus. It's been a while since I've watched The Dark Knight Rises. I don't remember if he wears it just to intimidate. I know he said nobody paid attention to him until he wore the mask. So, but it's such an unusual looking mask, especially compared to the source material. I mean, comic book Bane's mask was more like a luchadero mask, if I remember correctly. But this Bane, it just took it to a whole other level. Moving eyes as well, which I'm not going to mess with too much because I'm not very good at moving the eyes around, even though they are pretty accessible. So for the bomber jacket, this is Velcro right here, but then actually there's a zipper, which is pretty cool. And as normal with even my own jackets, I always feel like I'm worried that I'm gonna get the zipper stuck or get it off tread because once that happens, it's really hard to get it back on. So here he is with the brown jacket on, and it looks good. It's really hard to zip back up, and I kept trying, and then I eventually just gave up. I can't remember if he has his collars up or down, but yeah, it's a nice look. I don't know if this is leather or pleather, so I'm not sure if it'll crack over time, but it looks like it may be actual leather. So if it is, that's a nice touch, especially since most people probably aren't going to display him with this look unless they have multiple Banes. I won't be displaying him with this jacket on, but yeah, it looks good. And then there he is with like the Sherpa jacket on, and this one is his more iconic jacket. I think it was from the stadium scene when he's like, "Gotham is yours, take it." Or I forget exactly his speech, but I remember it was pretty epic. And again, just by moving the eyes a little, you can definitely get so much expression out of him. And yeah, I do like this jacket. I think if I were going to display him with the jacket, it would be with this one over the leather one. But I don't plan to display him with the jacket, but it still looks really good. I wanted to see if you could put the cuff on the other wrist to hide the seam, but it definitely doesn't belong there, as you can see. I only tried it with this hand, so maybe with a different thumb it could, but as you can see, it just doesn't fit right. So I'm assuming that this cuff is just for an alternative for the other forearm. So yeah, there's no way around that seam. The base looks really good, and it's modular in a sense because you can remove the railings on either side, and you can also remove this whole section off of the water, and you can remove that back there. This plugs into it to give this some additional support. So I'm not going to remove that. But one thing that's kind of frustrating is that when you want to lift it up, the whole thing pops out. And it might just be because this figure, I got it brand new, and obviously it was released a while ago. So temperatures and everything like that makes plastic kind of, you know, um, I guess stretch or get wider. So it's not fitting in perfectly. So as you can see, there you go. Yeah. So these come down and pop in, and they're all, you know, they're keyed with the base, but no matter try as I might, they won't stay put. And I've gotten it pretty close, but as soon as you move it up and down, they kind of just pop out. So I don't know if they're supposed to do that. And then you just kind of get it to your desired height and then stick it in there, or if it's supposed to connect so that way you can move it up and down without it disconnecting from the water. But if that's the case, I haven't been able to accomplish that. Not a huge deal, um, because I think in order to get this to fit into a DTOF, which is where I'm going to be displaying these until my Modu cases come, I think this extra height here is going to prevent it from fitting in a DTOF. So I may have to just display it like that, or maybe put the water kind of. Well, no, that looks ugly, but yeah, I'll figure it out. But yeah, either way, at least on my copy, these legs don't stay in as well as they should. And there he is, just on the display stand, and that just looks perfect. I'm gonna display him just like that, kind of. Just a dominance pose holding the broken Batman cowl. And yeah, perfect is a word that maybe I'm starting to throw around a little bit too much because everything I've gotten lately has just been really great. But this figure just looks perfect. Alrighty, folks, so let's talk value for the money because this thing is going to cost you an arm and a leg. um, So this figure hasn't been out that long. I think it was released about a year ago now, and we're at the end of 2025. So I think it came out either the beginning of 2025 or end of 2024. Along with Catwoman, I think they came out around the same time, and they're both from the Dark Knight trilogy. Both had similar packaging. And Catwoman you can get for below retail, whereas this figure it's gonna run you like probably twice as much as retail, double the price. And I think it originally retailed for around 300 and something, which is average price of Hot Toys. And at its retail price, I would say that it's a good value. The base is really substantial. It is modular. Again, I had my own issues with it, but once you have it in place, everything looks really good. And then the figure is, medical grade silicone. It's a seamless body aside from that one wrist peg. It looks really good. It's a heavy figure. Obviously, a lot of solid material went into it. Aside from the figure itself, which, the tailoring on the outfit and the materials are really strong, you also got two additional jackets, which they really didn't have to do. And you get the broken cowl. Now, I do wish that there was some additional, accessories. Obviously, he didn't use any weapons aside from brute force in the movie, but maybe even just a microphone, just since they give you that jacket where he's in the stadium, why not give a microphone, which would have, like a loudspeaker or microphone would have been cool. Because you have so many hands that are able to grip. It's funny because with some Hot Toys figures, you don't get enough hands. Like I recently reviewed the Batman Armory 2.0, also from the Dark Knight trilogy, and you get a ton of accessories with the armory, obviously, but very, not enough hands to hold everything. And then with this figure, you get left and right, gripping hands and ones that look like they're meant to hold something, and there really is nothing to hold except for the broken cowl. With that said, at its retail price, it's still a really good value because the likeness is spot on, moving eyes, the outfit's great, everything, the body is really wonderful, and the base is substantial as well. It's almost the style base you would get in a deluxe edition. Now, if you didn't get it at retail like me, and you have to pay like $650 for it, which is what the going rate is, unfortunately. I mean, I got mine from Toys Assemble, and I had some coupons and stuff that helped with the price a little bit. But that's really expensive for a single Hot Toys figure. So I don't think that aftermarket the value is there. It's still a wonderful figure, but considering that many other Hot Toys, even when they're not available anymore, you can usually get them for a little bit above retail price. The fact that this one skyrocketed, I'm not sure why. I imagine that it was really popular when it was available for pre-order because everybody loves Bane, very iconic character. Everyone loves the Nolan trilogy. So I'm not sure what happened. Either if there is just a limited quantity, it wasn't a limited release, so I don't know if maybe just fewer people pre-ordered it, and or if everybody who bought it just loved it so much that no one wants to part ways with it. Either way, there's scarcity somehow. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Maybe when there's a 3.0, eventually the market will be flooded, and then we'll realize that everyone just really loved having the figure. Or I don't know if it's just a production size issue where there's just fewer ones available. But either way, value for the money is there at retail price. Aftermarket, it's hard because, again, the figure itself is perfect. I don't regret paying as much as I did for it because I knew I needed him in my collection. And what you get is really fantastic. It's not like I got the figure and it's falling apart or it's just not a good quality. Like, it's a fantastic figure, which is probably why no one wants to get rid of their own copies, and it's harder to get now. But the face sculpt, the body, the way that it feels, the way that it looks like I have a Honey I Shrunk Tom Hardy on my table, almost in a creepy way. Like, it's weird, kind of handling a man. Like, he just looks like an actual man. It doesn't look like an action figure. So that's probably the best compliment that I could give to a Hot Toys figure. But yeah, again, value at retail price is definitely there. Value aftermarket, it kind of depends on how much you love the character and how much you're willing to spend on these things. Again, I don't regret paying as much as I did. You may or may not, but yeah, great figure. All right, if I had to give this figure a score out of 10, I would probably have to give it a 9.8 because it's just that good. In fact, the only reason I can dock any sort of points is because there's limited accessories aside from the Batman cowl. But even then, it's hard to kind of, fault this figure because we didn't see him holding a bunch of stuff. I don't even think we saw him holding detonators when he started blowing up the bridges or anything. The only accessory I remember him holding, aside from Batman himself and the broken cowl, is like the loudspeaker, the megaphone. And so I think it would have been cool if they included that. Would I have displayed him with that? Probably not, which is why I didn't dock too many points. But the display base definitely makes up for the lack of accessories, because it is really substantial. It's modular. You can do a lot with it. You can display it in a lot of different ways. So kudos to that. So yeah, out of 10, I'd have to give this figure a 9.8. Alrighty, folks. Well, I hope you enjoyed this figure of Bane 2.0 from the Dark Knight trilogy. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. I release new content every week, both Hot Toys, Lego, and kind of a lot of other stuff in between, gaming figures and statues. I've been kind of on a Batman hype lately, so probably some more Batman content coming soon, including a review of Catwoman and some Batman Lego sets. So with that said, I hope to catch you next time.
When I flip, you flip, we flip.